I've been having contractions for the last 4 days, 3 days. I'm so excited to tell you guys this. I don't even remember when I started having contractions, but I had been in early labor off and on for about 3 days. And that's when my cervix was going from closed to 3 centimeters. Because when I went to my appointment on Monday, my cervix was 3 centimeters. Mind you, yeah, it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday that I had been having these contractions on and off. They were like ranging from like consistently like 10 to 20 minutes. And I went into my appointment and I was like, I lost my bloody show. I lost my mucus plug. I was like, something is going on. She checked me as 3 centimeters. The 7th, yesterday, I was gonna be 41 weeks. And the hospital is so busy that they only were taking inductions at 41 weeks or after. So she told me tonight or tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday, they should be calling you for your induction. You're my most pregnant patient. Like, you're the priority. And I was like, cool, I got this. I got this. Went home and I was laboring all day. I had been up since 5 a.m. My appointment was at 8. I was laboring all day at the house and I was like, look, I can't go another night like this because I have been so exhausted. I was like, I can't do another night like this. Like at 8 p.m. we're gonna go to the hospital. And so my goal was to make it by 8 p.m. I wanted the sun to be down. I wanted to go just like not be so hot as to be at like nighttime relaxed. And what time was it? Like 6? I made it to like 6.
Mm-hmm.
I made it to like 6 p.m. And I was like, I had 3 contractions back to back at the house, right? No, actually they were like on top of one another. Like they were like, there was no relief in between and I freaked. I was like, oh no. We are going now. We're getting this stuff together. We're leaving, let's go. And Taylor was like, okay. You were kind of upset, huh? What were you like?
Wasn't upset, but
He was like over it. I felt like he was like over it at that point, right?
just like I can't tell you how you feel, so I'm like, all right, well, let's try it out.
We were trying to labor at the house as much as possible, or until they called us for the induction.
I was trying to avoid coming here, being told you're being over dramatic and getting sent home.
Yeah, because they would have done that until my induction was scheduled because of how busy they've been. So we got our stuff in the car and we drove here. And I was like, I think I'm in labor. I was having contractions. They were ranging like every 5 minutes, pretty steadily. And then came to OB triage. As soon as the nurse Karen went to do a cervix check, boom, water gushed everywhere. She was like, you're staying? Looks like you're staying. And I was like, hallelujah, because I was dying. And what did she say? I was about 4.5 centimeters at OB triage when I got there. So from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I had only dilated 1.5 centimeters. And then she broke my water and I was like, oh shit, like shit's about to get real. These are about to get more painful and worse. But in reality, they like stopped getting bad. I had never in a million years thought that much water was going to come out of me. They took me to L&D. My contractions really stopped. I felt like they stopped in severity and intensity because like they were much more manageable than from when I was dealing with them at home. They were like not as frequent what I thought. And yeah, it was good. It was like awesome. It was really good. We went into the room. We labored for a little and then what? I took a shower.
Mm-hmm.
We took a shower. I took a shower. It was like a half hour. I took a shower, had contractions in there. Then I bounced on the ball. At that point, my contractions were every 2 to 3 minutes? 2 to 3 minutes. But she was checking me every 2 hours because she didn't want to check me more than that because my water had broken and she didn't want to risk infection. And I had gone from 4.5 in OB triage to 6 to 7.5. And then it was around that time, it was around 11 where I had this like moment of panic. And it wasn't
more like hysteria.
No, I wasn't hysterical, was I? When I was like freaking out?
It was good.
I had this moment of panic where I was managing the contractions, breathing through them still, but I started like filling my head with all these like negative thoughts of like, these are only gonna get shittier. I've been up since 5 a.m. It's gonna be a full 24 hours that I've gotten any sleep. I haven't really eaten. The past 3 days I've been laboring and have gotten very, very few hours of sleep. I was telling myself, I was like, if I need stitches, I'm gonna feel every single one of them. They're gonna do all these fundal massages. And I was like, and then I'm gonna like have to push this baby out. And what if I'm too exhausted? And then I'm gonna be so exhausted that they're gonna have to give me a C-section. And it was just like, I was like, I'm gonna get it. Like, I was teetering with the idea of getting the epidural, not because I like care about this like natural birth stuff, but the only reason, a few of the reasons I didn't want to get it was because I didn't want to pay for it, because I know that fucking anesthesiologist isn't going to be covered in network, and I'm going to have to pay $3,000 for it, just like my anesthesiologist for my face surgery. If you haven't watched that video, go watch it. I got bit by my dog, whatever. But I just know that that's how hospitals work, so I didn't want to pay for it. And honestly, I was scared because it was hard for me to like round my back out to a comfortable position enough to get it like I felt like they wouldn't get a needle in my back well enough because I couldn't round my back out enough, which didn't happen to not be the case. And so it was around 11 o'clock, moment of panic about the future. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get it. And so I messaged my nurse and I said, I want to get it. Or she came and she was like, okay. And she was like, okay, I'll put in the order. She has one other girl before you and then she'll be right in. And I was like, cool. And the 3 contractions after that, you guys, were horrendous. And I don't know if it's because like they were actually getting worse, or if I had like let down my like mental strength guard that I had built up to that point and then just like didn't prepare myself for like the next 3 contractions. But then they were bad and I was like, oh my God, thank God I had decided to do this. The epidural went great, like the actual procedure. Sorry. We're in the hospital still waiting to get discharged, and I wanted to do this before we forgot the story. But anyway, then it went great. I rounded my back out like as much as I could. My shoulders like dropped my neck, and like she did it, and it was like, it was easy. It didn't really hurt at all. Like it was quick. It was wonderful. And then they started numbing me, and I felt my left leg go numb instantly, and like my right was taking a while, so they put a pillow like on the side to tilt me up a little to like get it to go on my right side. And then after a while it did get a little bit numb, never as numb as my left. And then yeah, I was good for like a few hours, like till like 2 in the morning. Probably like 2 or 3 a.m. I started to feel contractions on my right side, and it went downhill drastically from there. I felt like I jinxed myself because I went from feeling 0 contractions, nothing, literally taking a nap, to waking up and feeling contractions at like 8 centimeter plus. And if any of you have or know the stages of birth or have given birth, you know that like from 8 centimeters to 10 centimeters, you're technically in your transition stage, and those are back to back, like 2-minute contractions apart. They're super intense. And yeah, to be able to go from feeling nothing to feeling that only on my right side, I was like, Taylor, you don't understand. Like, I was asleep and now I am dealing with this. Like, I was not mentally prepared for it. I was not physically prepared for it. I kept calling the nurse. I was like, help me, help me, help me. She kept calling the anesthesiologist, and the anesthesiologist, I just kept seeing her just like come back with like syringes of different medication that was like technically a stronger dose of just like the normal drip of epidural.
It's like water.
Well, I was scared to ask because if she had told me that they were narcotics, I would have like, I don't know. I guess I just didn't want to know because I didn't want to get any narcotics. Anyways, and so I was scared to ask because I really needed it, but I just kept seeing her. She came in once, she came in again, and it worked, huh? Mm-hmm. It worked. It had none on my right side. Not completely, not entirely. I still felt it, but like enough to where I could breathe through them. Finally, it was like, she checked me. I was 9 centimeters. I was like, yes, I'm 9 centimeters. That was at like 3 a.m. She checked me at like 3, huh? At 3 a.m. And I was like, hell yeah, 9 centimeters. I'm there. She was like, we can't push you yet because you're not fully dilated. But so I was like, I have to get through the next 2 hours before she can check me again to see if I'm at 10, or unless I feel like I have to poop or whatever. And yeah, I was like, cool. We made it to 5 a.m. Epidural's wearing off again, and this time on both sides. And she checks me again, and I'm still 9 centimeters dilated. And I almost lost it, huh?
At 5 a.m.?
Yeah, I was 9 centimeters at 3 a.m. and at 5 a.m. she checked me again, and I was still only 9 centimeters.
Well, you were like that until like 10 in the morning.
Well, yeah, but I'm just telling the story because I was just telling them. They checked me at 3, said I was 9. I felt like I could do it another 2 hours because it's 2 hours. I was like, I'm at 9. I thought in my head, she told me, the nurse told me this. She said, we're going to have a baby by 7 a.m. That's what she told me early in the night. She said, I'm going to get to meet this baby. So I'm thinking in my head when she checks my cervix at 3 a.m. and I'm 9 centimeters dilated, I was like, I had put it in my head. She said, we're going to have a baby. Like, cool, we're going to have a baby. And so I just pictured that we'd have the baby. And when she checked me again at 5 and I was still only 9, I was like, bitch, we got 2 hours. And I know sometimes pushing can take up to 2 to 3 hours. So I was like, I don't know, I just started freaking out because I was still only 9 centimeters. And I thought the transition stage was supposed to be like the quickest. It is the most intense, but they say it's the quickest, and it was not in my case. It was the freaking slowest. And so she checked me again, and then I had waited for my epidural to wear off, and yeah, I was like in pain again, and I was like, bitch, I need more drugs. Like, you need to tell the anesthesiologist to give me the strongest shit possible.
Get her ass back in.
I didn't tell her that, but I sure as hell was thinking it. I was, at this point, I was like, I had started psyching myself out, and I was like, I've been laboring hardcore for a full 24 hours at this point. I haven't eaten anything. I am exhausted beyond belief because of the past 3 days, almost 4 at this point, that I've had to endure. And I think this is where it went downhill for me, because I think
it was at this point that she knew.
I fucked up. Yeah, I fucked up because I was so tired. I was so tired, and I had told myself, bitch, you are not going to have enough energy to push because you have been up and you have not eaten, and you're done for at this point. And so I was like,
sure.
Instead of like, yeah, it pretty much was like that. I was close. At that point, I was like scared to push. Like before, I was like excited to get there because I was like, I can't fucking wait to get this baby out. But then I reached a point where I had mentally just screwed myself. Can you let me back?
Combo.
Don't make me laugh. I am bleeding. I can't with him. Anyway, I'm sweaty. Now I'm sweaty. But yeah, that's when I was like, I didn't realize that I had done this until after I did it, okay? So it's not like I willingly fucked myself over, but then at that point I got scared to push because I was like, I'm not going to be able to get this baby out. I'm exhausted. Taylor's over there snoozing. I've been screaming his name for the past freaking however many times, and he's out cold. And I'm feeling like that, like falling asleep and then in pain, falling asleep in pain. And then finally they got me more drugs and they put me with the peanut ball on the right side. And I was so woozy from whatever they gave me in the epidural. I think it was just like the strongest dose. And I fell asleep. We literally prayed to whoever created this planet to help me. And whoever has created this planet helped me, because I was able to fall asleep. And when I woke up, my leg was numb. My right leg was numb. And that was like, yeah, it was 2 hours later. It was around that time where they were getting another nurse. Our night nurse was in the room and she was like, I'm not going to get to meet this baby. And I was like, my leg is asleep. It's asleep. And she was like, good. And so, yeah, then after that, we got a new nurse and her name was Heather. And she was like God's freaking gift to earth, honestly. Yeah, she came in and she handled it. She was like older. You could tell she was way more knowledgeable. At that point, I was screaming. I was telling Taylor, I was like, at what point are they gonna tell me I need a C-section? Because at that point, I was ready for it. I was like gonna electively ask for a fucking C-section, because I had been in transition for 3 a.m. to, I don't know, to freaking, 7 a.m. And they were waiting to check my cervix every 2 hours. And yeah, Heather came in and I was like, Heather, like, be real with me. Like, at what point are we gonna have a C-section? Because at that point I had accepted my fate. And especially because the night nurse Nicole had checked me and was telling me like baby was just like not positioned right. And that's why my right side was hurting so bad, was because his head was in my right hip. Essentially, he wasn't like straight head down. His head was towards my right hip and he was facing my right side. So if you can just picture that, baby is this way and he is facing that way instead of that way, head down where he's supposed to be. And so we were doing everything we could to get this baby to move down and face back. And so when Heather got there, I was like, girl, just tell me, like, at what point are we gonna give up, because he's like not positioned right and we've been here for forever. And she was like, well, I haven't even checked you that yet and he's doing great. You know, you might not be doing so great, but Dr. Brenneman, my doctor, had come in at around that time, around shift change, stuck a camera in, or was it a monitor? It was like a vaginal contraction monitor. So we wanted to see if my uterus was doing what it needed to like help baby get into position. But yeah, they stuck the contraction monitor in there. I asked Heather, I said, are my contractions strong enough? And she said, no. They're about like at a, what did she say, 100 or 200? They needed to be at 200 and they were at 100. They were, I don't know what the units on this are, but are like how they detect them. But she said they were about halfway there, like 100, and they needed to be at 200. So she said, she gave me the button for the epidural. She said, we'll try to get you comfortable and then we're gonna up your Pitocin to whatever the heck it needs to be to get you to 200. I pushed the button once and I waited 15 minutes. I still felt them. Pushed the button again, and then I felt like I didn't really need it after that. Like they were manageable. And I wish I would not have pushed it the second time, but I didn't know that they had it on a continuous drip. I thought I had control over it completely. So then I had fallen asleep till about 9, where she came in and she checked me again. Yeah, so she checked me at 9 a.m., sorry, and I was at 10 centimeters. And she was like, you're at 10, but you're still at station 0, and I would like you to be at 1 or something like that. So she was like, I don't want you to have gone through all of this and then push for 2 hours. So she sat me up and we did a throne position. You sit up, put your knees together, legs, your feet are apart, knees together, and it opens up your pelvic outlet. And so she sat me there for a while and I helped the baby. I was talking to him. I was like, you and me both, buddy. We're going to do this dance together. We're going to do it together. I could feel him. He was in my position. Every contraction, I felt his head go lower. I was like giving him a little push. I was like, we got this. And yeah, she came in around 11, checked me, and she was like, well, I don't know, I could wait a little bit more, but let's just try a few practice pushes. She put me in the position. We did 3, well, it was like every contraction you do 3 breaths, so we did 2 of those. And she was like, okay, I'm gonna call your doctor. I think you're ready. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. And at that point, I was like, I don't even know how I felt at this point. Honestly, I was like in a very weird like place. I don't know if it was because I was exhausted or tired or like what, but I was not myself at all. It was so strange. I was having weird thoughts that had nothing to do with like being like giving birth or like, I was definitely dissociating at this point. We'll just say that. I was definitely not myself. It was like weird. It was like I was like in a dream or like a weird trip. Like it was just odd, very odd. And so yeah, she came back, Heather came back, and she was like, we're gonna push, doctor's 20 minutes away, and then she's gonna come in, and yep. And I started pushing around 11 something, and then yeah, I pushed for like 30-40 minutes, and then the doctor came in. Everybody came in, and it was like I did like 2 or 3 contractions with like everyone in the room, and they were all cheering me on, and I could just like, I don't know, I could just feel everyone's energy, and I was like, everyone is here for me to get this baby out. Like the pediatrician was there, like the nurses were there, like everybody was there, and they were all cheering for me to like get this baby out. And every time I'd close and push, they had me like hold the back of my legs and pull towards my legs and like bear down. And honestly, I know probably no one needs advice, but the advice that I took was, I remember when my best friend Naisha gave birth, and I gave her advice, and I had told her, every time you feel like you can't push anymore, push a little bit more, because when you stop pushing, his head goes back in. And I was listening to my Built to Birth class where she said to never hold your breath when you push, because it drops the baby's heart rate, because you're not getting oxygen to yourself nor to him. And so to never bear down, like always let a little bit of air out and then take a deep breath. And so I was like, even in the class, even in the packet, it had said like, what are you going to do when the doctors tell you to bear down? Like, how are you going to manage that? And I remember I had put in that little like section what I said I was just going to ignore them. And so that's what I did with Heather initially. I just ignored her and continued to do what I felt like I knew was right, quote unquote. And when she looked at me and she told me, you need to bear down, because when you let that little bit of air out, his head goes back in. And I remember like what happened with Naisha, and I was like, I have to listen to her. So after I started listening to Heather, I was still making progress, don't get me wrong, just not as much progress. After I started listening to Heather, baby's head was coming out and coming out and coming out. And yeah, he just came out. Right, babe?
Bingo, bingo. Bingo, bingo.
Yeah, so then, yep, they asked me if I wanted to feel his head, and I was like, sure. I reached over. It was so nasty. It felt like goop, and like it was just really gross. I thought it was gonna be like a wet baby's head. No, it was not like that. It was like a hairball and yogurt. Like, it was so disgusting. And I was like, ugh. And I'm like really weird about things on my hands. So when I got that on my hand, I was like, I didn't even know like where to rub it, and I just rubbed it on my gown, and I was like, oh, it's so gross. And I feel like a lot of the things I was saying, people like, everyone was just like, I guess I felt like people are expected to say the right thing all the time, like, oh my god, I can't wait to see him or meet him. And I was like, fucking gross, like, ugh. But yeah, then they're like, do you want to see? And I was like, yeah, like a mirror to see. And I was like, yeah. And I thought it was gonna be like one of those handheld mirrors where they just like take it out and show you and then you're good. No, this girl brought out a whole mirror on wheels, stood it behind the like doctor where I could see, and they didn't move it. So the whole time I did not want to watch myself give birth. But I was not like thinking about telling her, hey, move the mirror away, because I had just asked them to bring it, so I didn't want to like be a pain, but they left it there. And yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome seeing myself like do that. I was just like, it was just not, it's really hard for me to even like bring the two lives together, because I feel like I'm a totally different person from that person. So it just feels like I watched it in a movie versus like me experiencing it. It's so weird. It's very hard for me to describe it in a way to where like people understand. But I picture it in my head, and I like remember seeing it in my head, but I just can't, I don't feel like it was me in a way. But yeah, I stood there holding my legs, and I had to like close my eyes to like bear down, but every like breath I'd come up, I'd watch, and I could just see his head like come more and more out. And I thought when the baby's head came out, I had to keep pushing for his shoulders to come out, but no. Once they were like, one more, like they kept asking me if I can give him one more, and I was like, I can, because they were telling me 3 breaths per contraction. They let me rest, another contraction would come on, I had 3 breaths to push for 10 seconds, and I felt like I was like, no, I can do 4. I was like, I didn't tell him that, but shoot, Dr. Brennan was like, can you give me one more? And I was like, yep. And then his head came out, and I thought I was gonna have to like do more contractions to get the rest of his body out, but nope, his head came out, and it was just all out. And it was crazy. I have 1 stitch I tore on my right perineum, and I saw it when I was in the mirror. I saw it, like it was getting a little red and bloody, and I was like, oh, no. But I saw like my perineum between my vagina and my butthole, I don't know, anus, and it wasn't like tearing, which was good. Thankful for those perineal massages I made Taylor do, because they did wonders. And yeah, that was pretty much it. They plopped him on my chest, cleaned him up. I was like, I don't even remember what my first words were. I don't even remember what I said to him. What did I say? Do you remember?
What is it like? Welcome to the world. No,
I don't remember what I said to him. But it wasn't anything like, oh, he's so cute, or like anything. I was just like, I felt numb at that point. Like the whole time I felt numb.
It's over.
No, I didn't say that. I don't remember what I said. I really don't. It wasn't anything grand or anything weird. It was just kind of like I was so numb that I didn't even have a reaction. Like I wasn't crying. It wasn't like emotional. It wasn't beautiful. I was just like very stoic, like calm, like just holding my baby, I guess. I was just looking at him, seeing what he looked like. They were like doing what they needed to do. I did my skin to skin. They asked me if I wanted to keep him or take him, and I said keep him. And then yeah, I kept him, and it was just that. Like it was just, I wish I could be like more emotional and like cry and be like, it was like the most beautiful thing of my life. But I think I was just, I'm so tired now, and then I was so tired then, that I was just like, yep, I did it. We did it. I didn't think I could do it, but I freaking did it. And I had told myself that I couldn't do it. I was thankful for every single decision that I had made up to that point. I was thankful I left the house when I did. I was thankful I got the epidural when I did. I was just thankful for everything, the way that it had played out. I don't know. I was just grateful, I guess. Like, as much as I thought I was going to have a C-section or wanted one at one point in time, like, I'm glad I didn't need one. Thankful I didn't tear really bad. You know, he's a 8-pound, 15-ounce baby with a 15-centimeter head. Like, he was giant, 21 inches and 3/4 long. Like, he was a huge baby, and I don't know. Thankful for like the staff that I had. and it's been really good. So he has been cluster feeding like crazy. He has not wanted to be anywhere except our arms, and he's honestly really had to deal with a lot up to this point, but that is a conversation for a separate video. But that is my birth story. I don't really think I left anything out of it. It was good overall. I don't know. So yeah, that was my birth story. I hope I didn't leave anything out, but if I did, I'm sure I'll add it at the end. But if I don't, then yeah, thanks for watching. I love you guys. See you later. Well, we finally decided on a name, huh? What name?
Not your business.
They're already gonna know. Say it. See if it sounds good. All together.
You say it.
Ezra, Jaden, Wall. Say it.
Say it with your chest.
Say it.
Ezra Jaden.
Is it good?
Ezra Jaden. Wall. EJ. Ezra J.
Ezra J. You better chill.
J Money.
Easy J. My little easy.
You can always change it.
Yeah, we could, but what would we change it to? Roman? We're tired. I'm tired. I'm praying to God they let us go.